Today is the 19th of April, and I am Ifan, the host of today's Talking Stick for Nanjing Philosophy Corner. And today we have one, two, three, four, five, and six. Peter. We have six people. We have Paul, we have Eunice, myself, we have Tsi, we have Bia, and we all come from different part of the world. We have two Nanjing natives, and I don't want to say more stuff. So I want to pass this talking sticks to the people next to me, who happens to be Eunice. I want you guys to introduce yourself and just, share about why you into, philosophy, why you coming here, and, what is philosophy for you. And
Well, asking me good questions. My name is Yunus. I came from Algeria. So Algeria is a North African country. I'm a Berber, specifically a Kabyle. So a Kabyle in Arabic it means tribe. So I came to China in 2019. I came to Nanjing, moved to Nanjing in 2023, and I had a great interest in intellectual work in general. I do PhD research in ethnomusicology, and I'm interested in philosophy. And I want to talk more about, I want to talk about deep problems that humanity is facing, or cultural phenomena, social phenomena, or whatever in the world. So I try to develop a sort of holistic understanding of world's cultures. And yeah, that's basically how I view philosophy. It's just our daily views and thoughts about the universe, about everything. That's my idea. Now I'm going to pass the mic for Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from Canada. I've been in China maybe 5 years total. I'm an artist, trained as a glassblower, and interested in philosophy just in a sense of kind of a way to challenge your understanding of the world. It seems like very concrete, but I think philosophy is a good way to kind of question logic and take alternate views and perspectives and just engage interesting conversation.
Hello, I'm Victoria and I'm local. For me, the reason I joined the Philosopher Club is that I feel like philosophy beliefs is a way for you to understand others. And by knowing that, I think you can understand others' behavior more deeply. Also, I think it's a way that interprets how you live and how do you manage your life. So I think for me, I'm really interested in knowing how others define what is the life and to say the differences. Yeah, that's my understanding for Philosophy Corner. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Bia. I'm from Brazil. I came to China almost 3 years ago as a master's student. Now I'm a PhD student in Nanjing. And I joined the Philosophy Corner because I'm just interested in questioning life, and especially being around so many different cultures. When you are in Chinese university, you have many friends from all over the world. So I'm always interested in knowing their perspectives and challenging what I think is true, and then suddenly it's not, because everyone has different background perspectives. So that's why I joined. It's always good to know some new people. Thank you.
oh, great stuff. So coming back to the host, myself, the reason why I'm participating in this is because I'm interested in seeing how other people putting the idea that I'm familiar with in a different way. I think it's very inspirational, and I want to practice talking as well. I think I was very practical about it, but then it becomes more experimental. It's trying different ideas, and some of the conversation that we have could be, part of a music that we're trying to create. And for the listeners, this is quite strange because it's the first time we're trying to do this, right? Talking to a microphone, sitting on a table. I don't even know what to... It's a talking stick. It is a talking stick. All right. It's a talking stick. Okay, speaking of this, I think it's a great concept to have ritual, in a respectful environment, but then concentrate on philosophy, because I remember ritual that Plato was criticizing the ancient Greek mythology, He think it's not critical enough. It's not. It's just too many people copying each other, trying to lure young people into emotional attachment. That's pretty much what he was trying to say. But then I also think ritual provided a common agreement and a promise that everybody, share a similar identity. So why don't we put it together and give it a try, right? Um,
Yeah, I think this is a really good point because a lot of people ask me, what do you actually do at Philosophy Corner? What is this philosophy about? People think it's a sort of academic philosophy where we're discussing theories, logic, and stuff. Yes, there is some of that, but I think for me it has to be a discussion with people. Doesn't matter where he comes from. Doesn't matter what he's doing, is working or studying or whatever what he's doing. It's a very important to discuss and exchange ideas. This is a way to learn as well. It's sort of a social way to learn about the world, to challenge your own thinking, and to be reflexive. Because we kept doing it, consistent. It's been really consistent. I think now Philosophy Corner began like 20 years ago. So if you ask Laurie, he says like that they began doing it 20 years ago when they arrived to Nanjing. So we kept it. So we kept this tradition going. Yeah, and consistency in this activity, it's a key. Nobody actually has been annoyed by the Philosophy Corner. Everyone actually wants to come and join. And because of the consistency, a lot of people, they say something, and because we listen to each other, and people want to keep saying, keep thinking, and when they go back home, it's just they still keep thinking. They want to say something. So they want to come back and say whatever they want to say. So I think it's the art of discussion and exchange through thinking, speaking, and feedback. Because you speak, some people are listening, and they are digesting ideas in different ways because they come from different cultural background. They have different goals, have different level of knowledge. So it is a really good and chaotic way. I consider it as a resilient, chaotic way to learn and adapt. And I think it's interesting because it is local. We're not far from each other, so we can see each other and we can meet. And this is really interesting. I can say we have a sort of local community. We have local people and we have people from all parts of the world meeting together in one place. So I think we bring this global context and the local context together.
So I just want to pose, I guess, a question, because you mentioned ritual, and a lot of my studies in school was like kind of focused on ritual, and I'm really kind of infatuated with the idea of ritual consumption, what that means kind of in context of a modern day. How do you guys think about ritual consumption? Is it, you drink water every day, or what association do you have with just this idea of ritual consumption?
Elaborate.
Like, for instance, I think if routines or habits, I think if we look at if you go to a museum, you see a lot of these maybe ceremonial objects or kind of like crafted containers, and it looks like super precious or is like kind of elevated. And it kind of has this idea of, well, this was like a very ritualistic sort of thing. But in the modern day, I don't think we have that strong of associations with these things anymore. Like, you could even think about like ritual consumption is that, every Tuesday you put gas into your car. Is that a type of ritual consumption in the modern day? Or does it lose this sort of essence of appreciation? Yeah,
You mentioned that you're not sure if in modern days we still have contact with rituals, but I guess it depends on where you're from. Because I'm from Brazil, and we were before the European colonized us. We were an indigenous country. Yeah, so actually I am still attached to rituals because it's from my roots, like most Brazilian people, I am a mix of indigenous people with Black African people, with Portuguese that came to Brazil, Spanish and Italian. So especially the women of my family, they are very attached to indigenous culture and rituals like teas and plant-based rituals, shower yourself and pray. And even though it's not part of the religion, because I'm Catholic by family background, but we have this indigenous mentality of if you're sick, you have this tea. If you feel like this, you take a shower. If maybe you feel a bit sick, maybe it's energy, bad energy. So you have this and this plant that you take a shower to clean your energy. So I guess we're still attached to rituals. And I have my own also because of my faith that came from the woman of my family, and I keep my faith going. I have my own rituals like universe stuff, it's another thing. But yeah, I am still attached to rituals. So I think it depends on where you're from.
Well, for me, I think it's from an artist point of view. I think if you exhibit your artwork and you claim that this is my ritual work, it will become like one of the consumption rather than something that's given from your native culture, because you're removing the actual location and the actual community, because everybody can have their own opinion about this thing, this ritual, right? You say it's a ritual, but the actual ritual has a bonding feature that's almost like forced upon them. For example, in a tribe, and this tribe is starving. This tribe is going to be destroyed. They had a fight. Maybe the flood was hitting the village, and you need to bring people together. You need to tell them, hey, we're not destroyed. We want to boost up your confidence in our survival. And that's some like sort of missing element of ritual that I see in today's world. That you can see similar stuffs in a DJ show, probably in a hip hop gig, in a rock and roll gig. People come here for their particular cultural sort of reasoning, but then it is still part of a consumption. I mean, that's only my way of defining ritual consumption. I don't think it is a consumption. I think it's a natural instinct that human is a social animal and we are emotional animal. Sometimes we just lost hope, and not everybody can, bring people together. So there's a person who can bring people together, and then from time to time and year after years, you form this cultural phenomena, which is ritual, and then chanting, drum, even this talking stick. And yeah, that's just my understanding of it. And when I mention ritual, I'm referring to that. I'm just saying that maybe philosophy can be part of, feature in this type of scenario rather than saying it's part of the consumption. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of rituals, actually, I think I have a lot of things to say, especially because maybe we share the same background, because I'm an indigenous people from North Africa. So I've told you before, I'm a Berber, a Kabyle. So we do have a lot of rituals and religious beliefs, not just Islam. We are mostly Muslims now, but we have been influenced by, the Christian religion since the Roman Empire. We've been influenced by a lot of cultures and a lot of religions. But our main religion is what you can call animism. That's true, because I saw even my mom, she never went to school. But when she goes to collect olives, it's just she sees everything here as a living thing. It's like how she's gonna pass, she's gonna say hello to everything, she's gonna salute to all the guardians there, and it keeps her safe, when she goes alone to collect olives or to collect some tomatoes in the garden. All right. But this idea of I'm gonna talk later about the ritual, but for example, we use some medicinal plants. For example, when I came back from home, my mother just filled my bags with olive oil and honey. So in China, when you're sick, or you're supposed to drink hot water. But lately I had a throat pain. So if you drink hot water, it's an inflammation. If you drink hot water, it might get worse. So I said, okay, yeah, I brought some olive oil. Let's drink olive oil. And before I sleep, I drink a little bit of olive oil. And when I wake up, I drink a little bit of olive oil. And it just significantly improved. I felt much, much better. So yeah, speaking of rituals in the modern society, or how to integrate them into the modern life, I think we need to think about them, how they can be productive and how they can be healthy and suitable for today's environment. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things or activities you can create through rituals, whether for health, a lot of benefits for health, a lot of benefits for social health as well. So even society has health. So yeah, I think we can integrate what we learn, for example, what we learn from the scientific works, from the cultural, let's say, cultural backgrounds, what we learn about the world in general, and we can integrate them to actually innovate a lot of new activities. Yeah, so I think it is quite constructive to think in this term. And I think now we're going to introduce Peter, right?
Shall I share?
Yeah, just share,
About-
introduce yourself and share your idea about what ritual consumption means to you and how it fits in today's society.
Okay. I'm Peter. I'm from Canada. I've been in China for 7 years. Ritual consumption. Well, about rituals, I'm not sure what ritual consumption means to me, but I could talk about rituals. I didn't grow up with a lot of rituals, didn't grow up with religious background, but I just spent a week on Wudangshan at a kung fu school. And there's a lot of rituals for me. Even just eating at the exact same time every day is very peaceful. And knowing that after lunch is at 11:30, and then at 2 p.m. we start, and there's really nothing that has to be done. So it's like it's basically a nap time or a relaxing time. And then even if you're hungry at 3 p.m., you're still going to wait until 5:30 for dinner. And there's something very relaxing about that. And as soon as I came back this afternoon, I thought, okay, I'm hungry at 3 p.m. I'm ordering some food. Already life is a little bit more stressful. But if there's too many rituals, then I want more freedom. So I think whatever I have, I'm not happy and I want the opposite.
Me? I don't have anything to say. That's what I say.
Okay. So I was thinking of ritual, but I think it's a kind of way that people, they gather together and they reach energy together, and they have, like, for me, I think of the Buddhism chanting or prayer if they gather together. And I think it's a way that to practice their religion or practice what they truly believe. And for me, I also think it's a kind of therapy for people to do that. So I really enjoy going to this kind of gathering, because for me, I feel like I can be resonant with others by doing the same thing. And sometimes it can raise up my energy level after doing that. So especially if you do it in the morning, I think it totally, like, it's a good beginning of your day. Yeah. So, but I think, unfortunately, in modern days, because I think lots of people, they are atheist, right? They don't have the religion beliefs anymore. So I have read an article that said about that. It said because of we are losing that belief, lots of people, they are mentally have some illness. Because imagine, the gathering can be a kind of group therapy for lots of people. Yeah. For me, that's my interpretation.
Now, do you want to introduce yourself and make comments about ritual consumption?
All right. My name is Jeho, and I'm a Cameroonian. I'll just go directly into the topic, even though I came late. So I first apologize for that. I got my own reasons. But so talking about rituals, I think it's a pretty good way to put things in order. Having rituals that you do, for example, every morning, every evening, it's like having an island of stability, or a stable island that you can always go back to whenever you are going into the chaos. So, for example, if somebody has the tendency of cooking for example, 2 different kinds of foods. So, like me, like I just cook one, basically. It's tomato sauce with rice every single time. But now it's good that I should try other stuffs, because I'm living, for example, in another country. I'm living in China. So I'll go into different restaurants, try what they can bring onto the table. And after that, I back into my stability island, because if I don't do that, all my pockets will be taken away. So it's like having this place that can sustain you is like a kind of foundation. And I think rituals also, they do help in that. For example, having rituals like in a much more serious way, like prayer, or for example, somebody that wakes up and he puts his head inside the, this big ball where there is water and ice. Have you seen those videos on YouTube? The guy that does like the ball and then he puts water inside and then he puts his face inside.
Yeah.
Ashton, what's his name? Ashton Murray or something?
You want to beat him as well, right?
Huh?
You want to beat him in views.
Why will I do that? I don't think that is useful. But I mean, it's really good. I think it's good to have. I think it's good to have rituals like that that set a certain level of order within your life, and we all need that. That's what I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
No?
yeah. What can I say? No, actually, it's funny that in this cultural setting makes me remember. It reminds me of my university situation, because I came to China. It's already a very different place. So I had to kind of adapt to Chinese rituals in the like routine in a academic environment outside and stuff. But also I live in a 32-floor building full of international students. So for example, I had two roommates. One is from Algeria also. So I lived with her for 2 years, and a French girl. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting actually to live at peace and share rituals with a Muslim girl, because when would I ever think in my life, coming from Brazil, that I would live with a Muslim and an European colonizer? Just kidding. I used to call her colonizer because we used to joke about that. We live at peace, I swear. But that was awesome because we shared so many different rituals. The French girl with her salad, and then the main dish, and then her cheese and the baguette that way. And then the Muslim girl with all the Ramadan situation that we basically shared that moment with her, like all the Muslim rituals she had. Also, she invited many people from other African countries like Morocco, and some people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So my room was crazy, and we shared many different rituals, and it was really, that made me think and realize that we think we are very different because we're from different countries, but when you live so close to that, like so many different people, you actually realize that we're not as different as we think we are. Even though we have different beliefs, but if you talk deeply about them, we find a common ground many times. So I feel like when you're open to listening respectfully, and like I don't have to tell you that I disagree, like we can find a common ground, we can agree to disagree. But I came to realize that we're actually more similar than we think.
Yeah.
That's
Great.
that's interesting. So sharing rituals made me realize that we are similar. Yeah. The Chinese, the Algerian, the Brazilian, the French, the Pakistani, Costa Rica, you name it. We are all together, I feel like.
Because I just want to add one point to what Bia just said, because I did some research into ritual and storytelling, indigenous storytelling, the talking stick. So one of the biggest significant change over the time is that you all know that we all have legends, right, in the household, in the tribe. And then it's very interesting that different people with different clan, they would also tell the tale from other clan. And it's not like today we're in the 21st century, we're doing it. It's like a couple hundred years ago, like few thousand years ago, when they hear, they could be enemies before, but then they'll be like, no, that's a legend. I think that's a huge part. It's like you're seeing somebody else from with a different bloodline, as seeing them as a legendary story, and that's more like that's a literal ritual consumption, right? You're consuming the story from other tribes, and I think we're just following that trend. At least from my ancestry, we have the nomads, we have the agricultural, we have the farmers, we have the hunters. Do you would always blame each other, right, for attacking each other's land and for having different lifestyles. But then if now you just share stories about the great people from every family. I think that's something. I think that's a great trend. We really should keep that one up.
Yeah, so this philosophy corner, it is a ritual actually. It's been when I came to Nanjing, I realized it like 3 or 4 months after I came to Nanjing. So it was 2 years ago. I've been participating in this philosophy corner, but we used to do it with 3 or 4 people, max 4 people. I remember, and then it went. A lot of people joined, so it was really cool. But speaking of storytelling and sharing, we have a festival that I am studying now, which is called Racontar in Algeria. It's been done in 2019 in my own village. So it started in 2004. So it has a name of raconte. So racontar in French, which means to tell story with arts. So we invite a lot of artists all over the world, a lot of local artists, national artists at national level as well. And we look for a village, and the village has to do some work to renovate their own village. And we do the festival in that village, 7 days, 7 nights. We just transform the village into a art stage. It's like a lot of people provide houses for the artists for free. So people who live overseas, a lot of people live in Canada, France, they don't come back, so they provide their houses for artists who have been invited to participate in the festival. So it's not commercialized; it's completely free, and just do arts during these 7 days and seven nights. Do arts on the street. There is some stage performance. People are drawing on the villages houses and stuff. People playing music. You can watch it on YouTube. It is called Racontar. It is out there on YouTube. It's quite viral, actually. And I'm comparing it to another festival, which is called the Wuzhen Theater Festival in China, which is doing similar thing, but for theater. And but the Wuzhen one is more commercialized. So if you want to go, you need to buy tickets and to pay money. So that's it. So we have different ways to tell stories. Like in the modern world, look at that. You can do rituals for economic purposes, like tourism. Like you're gonna commodify the stories, you're gonna commodify the arts. But for us, we don't do it. We don't commodify it. So we just invite people to come and enjoy, and that's all, and participate if you want. Of course, there is an economic involvement. If you go, you pay for your flight ticket. You gotta pay the airline and stuff. So it's not like
Buy things there.
yeah. Of course, you're gonna buy some food if you want.
On the social media.
You share the story on social media. But you can make money of sharing that story as well. So anyway. Yeah, so I think rituals are quite good. Now I think we need more multicultural rituals, not single isolated rituals. So we need interaction between cultures, not just between individuals of the same culture. So we need more interaction to understand, all human experience in general, so that you can discover, so that you can realize that you're not really different from other human beings. You might have your difference, it might be ideological or it might be purely cultural, but maybe economically you cannot really be different. So if you can survive economically together, so what's holding you from surviving culturally together? It's the cultural activity, it's the storytelling, it's the arts, it's maybe social norms have to be a little bit fluid, but I can still negotiate to find the common ground for everyone. So this is the role of storytelling and the ritual as well. So the more you do it, the more you be consistent on it, so people will get used to it and you can sustain it. So yeah, ritual actually contributes to sustainability and planning for a long-term future.
It's still the same topic.
If you want to change, yeah, whatever you want. You can give us a beatbox too.
I'm not good at beatboxing, but I was thinking about another thing, still related with rituals, and I was trying to define it. It's like I think I can start it from the base of we have a human being And a human being is like the agglomeration of various ideas and values within himself. You can see a human being, even like a country or like different people coming together under the leadership of one, which we can call a prefrontal cortex, maybe. And when I look at the human being on that particular side, you will see that because you have those different ideas and values that do exist within yourself, sometimes you might find that it's pretty difficult to order them into a single line. It's like all of those different values to come together. For example, if I'm studying a content, maybe I'm reading a book, but now as I'm reading, I'm thinking about, oh, there's this girlfriend that is just right there. I have to call her. Or maybe, oh, I have to go to the coffee shop. I want to enjoy a little bit with some friends. Or I really want to go play basketball, man. It's like those different values, they play within your being, and you are supposed to order them in a certain way. And so I believe that using rituals is a way of trying to organize those particular things. But now I think the most important question with those rituals is, why do you do rituals? And the reason why you do rituals is because you want to adjust those values according to a specific thing that will help you to achieve that particular goal that you want to have. So it's very important to have a goal. And if you don't have a goal, then why will you be doing rituals? So you do rituals mostly because there is a goal that you have. It's like, okay, if I want to say that I'm going to pray every single day for 15 minutes at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, is because I want to have a certain goal. So Christians, for example, they will say that I want to have a better relationship with God. Or, for example, if you say, okay, I'm going to read 15 minutes a day every time that I wake up and every time that I go to sleep. It's like you want to try to maybe there are many goals that can go with that. It's like maybe you want to be more articulate, like learning new words, or you want to fill up your knowledge. You want to be more knowledgeable. There are different goals that you can set for that. And the reason why you are setting those rituals is for you to be able to achieve that goal. And through achieving those goals is like you're putting a certain level of order within the values that you have. Oh, that thing that is just inside of you that says, oh, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. So it's like a way of organizing yourself through those particular rituals. So that's one other thing that I was thinking about. Yeah.
I don't have anything to say. Sorry, my mind ain't here today.
Listening.
I would like to have some rituals in my life with other people. I have my own general rituals like morning routines, but I don't do anything like even at the school I work at. I see the kids every day. They're doing the same thing with each other at 9:15, and sometimes I would look at that when I first got to China and think like they all have to do the same thing. It's no fun, but I think there's something nice about it. And especially since I was just at this Kung Fu school for a week and everything, the whole day is rituals. There's the prayer in the morning. There's the exercises that you're doing, the same thing. There's the nap time. There's the whole day is ritualistic. And I would like some of that in my life.
Agree.
I have a question though. Do you think that rituals make you free?
Yeah. That's what I would just want to. I'm thinking of that. Yeah, actually, I'm thinking that. Yeah, although people would think, okay, ritual actually they took my time, they occupy my time. So physically, it sounds like we are occupied by something. But actually, by doing things, actually, I think it's free my spirit, it free my ideas, free my brain, because you can do it automatically. At the fixed time, you do the same thing and your body will get used to do it. So it actually help you to get into your goal. Yeah, I think actually with routine or with a ritual, you can do things more easily. Or you can achieve your goals more easily, because I think our body, we have a biologic clock. So how do you say that? The motion can help you to get into the word or get into the goal you are chasing up. And another thought that just came to me was, I think although there are different kind of rituals in the world, but deeply actually we are chasing up for the same thing. So we all want happiness, we all want live in a good way, but just we use different ways to achieve that goal. And by saying different ways, I think you can understand others' value and what is their way to achieve their happiness. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that like listening to everyone here, I think it depends on what do you think a ritual is. What kind of ritual you're talking about? Like, is it your belief? Is it your routine? And it can be good, it can be bad. I mean, if you're doing it mindful and if you question why you're doing things, because sometimes you just do that because you're born in that place and then like it's your culture and you just keep repeating patterns and you don't question yourself. But I think when you come from, like, I believe all of us being a cultural environment, we start questioning things. And I think it's cool. And then I believe that you follow your rituals because you chose to do that. You chose your rituals, you chose your beliefs, you chose what you do. So I think, yeah, I think it depends on whether you know it's a ritual, you know why you're doing that. Sometimes you don't know. Like why? Like I started questioning myself when I became like when I turned 20, I think. I started like being interested in feminism and I started like being more like paying more attention to the women of my family, like my ancestors, like my mom, the mom of my mom, and like my mom repeated some behaviors and I was wondering where did that come from. You know? And then me too, and then I wonder like what's this, like for example being Catholic, like I grew up going to Catholic church. Do I believe in all of that? I still wonder, you know. My mom is Catholic, my father no, my father doesn't have a religion, so he always wanted me to have a choice. He never allowed me to go to a Catholic school, for example. He said, nope. When you're 18, you choose what you're gonna do with your life, but you're not gonna be limited like that. You do whatever you want, you know? So I feel like I started questioning rituals. And now I feel like also with social media that we have access to other cultures before coming to China, we pick like, oh, maybe this part of Algerian rituals I like, then maybe I'm gonna take that for my as part of my rituals. And then the Chinese rituals, I like this hot water like during your meals because you digest well, so it becomes a habit that you drink hot water. I don't know, so you start like incorporating things in your and it becomes your ritual. So I don't know, depends, it can be good, can be bad, but I think you have to keep questioning why you're doing things, you know, as long as you're not doing that just because and you just don't even know. When you look back you're like, actually I don't even know what the I'm doing this, you know. I think it's a good way to, yeah, like organize yourself. Yeah, I do have too many rituals in my day that is very small, but it keeps me grounded and yeah, it keeps me on track and I can reach my goals. So I think it can be good.
I feel like the conversation is coming back to philosophy, like yeah, like yeah, it's like so because we are talking about critical thinking, and I remembered I started from saying that Plato used to criticize ancient Greeks myth and ritual and the poetry and arts, and yeah, so I think I know exactly what you're trying to say. For example, do you think they're pretty good at ritual? They're pretty good at branding. They put their entire branding with a certain type of color, and they have this gesture, and that you have to chant. They have everything, and then they have this swastika, which is a quite ritual is like is it from Scandinavian places? They have this mark on the stone, and also it's a religious symbol from, ancient India. And then they had combined all the ritual elements and create a completely chaos for people. And then that's just not the only case. For example, like I'm very skeptical about, for example, in Chinese school you have the I do the thing, like, and that's like a house care. But then for me, it was almost like a test to see if you are obeying what teacher asks you to do, because that's a ritual. And you because if you say I'm a little bit too tired or I'm not feeling it today, can I not do it? No, because the community is doing it, your classmate is doing it, and the teacher will say if you're not doing it, then you are creating trouble for this community. But in fact, I'm not against anyone. I'm just saying I'm not feeling it. So then it will be brutalized, which means you will get punishment. And I always get punishment from not feeling it. Probably most of the rituals are brainless in a way, unless you see the use in it, right?
Yeah, so it's not the idea of ritual which is good or bad. So the concept of we use ritual to actually point out sort of pattern in behavior. So when we notice a behavior that is out there and repeated again and again, we name it a ritual. And a ritual is not an idea which is an end of itself. It has purpose. So there is purpose in why you should do something, why any kind of behavior is invented of purpose. It might be, sort of material purpose. Maybe someone is doing it to profit from it. Maybe he needs it for his own business, right? Maybe it's a symbolic image. We're gonna, like, for example, funerals. So it's like the idea of nobody knows why people die, why people cease to move, and people say like, yeah, there might be something. He might go into another life. So to make sense of this, they need to bring into practice this vision, this symbolic image. So they need to give it a practical approach so that they can sustain it, so they can make sense of it. So they need to bring it to practice by establishing some behavior, and that brings meaning into society, that brings meaning into culture. But the idea of ritual, between what is it and how it is used, these are two different questions, because everyone has the right to ask what are things, right? What is this ritual? Why it is being done in this way? Huh?
They should be.
Of course, they should be. This is the only thing they should do. They should be doing is they should question things.
For question.
Right. So if you don't question it, you'll be used for it. So because the ritual, it is used. So it gives emergence into power. So if someone is using the ritual, he wants to keep it, he wants to sustain it, and if you're not aware of it, if you don't question it, you'll just be doing it. You will be used. So that's it. There is a lot of things evolved in ritual itself. You can explore, a deep, diverse truth into this idea of ritual. So for us, I think, as a thinking human beings, we have to question things. We need to question everything we do and everything we're influenced by. So maybe we don't need to do that ritual. Maybe you don't need to do it in that way. Maybe you don't need to participate in the whole ritual, or maybe you need to adapt it to your own life. So the questions of freedom, is ritual is making you free? It depends on why you do it. So if you have a purpose of doing it to live healthy, for example, or to not be lonely, to not isolate yourself, yes, it is good because you know why you're doing it. But if you don't know why you're doing it, it's not going to give you freedom. So you are a tool for it. But the questions of freedom, it depends on your own why, on your own meaning. So that's it. Can it make you free? Yes, if you think so. What is your question?
I mean, it's about children.
Children.
When the children are children, what do you think? How can you, I mean, let's say that we are in a situation where the ritual is good, right? If the ritual is good, then it might benefit the child. But now the child, he doesn't understand. And how do you deal with that now?
That's a good question. It's a dilemma because we are all experienced being kids, right? We all once been right children. We're basically the same, but we've influenced by a different environment, different cultures, different practices. So this is not something you have control over. As a kid, you're just born out there, and you'll be influenced by whatever you find out there. So good or bad, it depends on your environment, on the circumstances. Maybe this is chance, this is chaos in life. So yeah, go ahead.
I think that children need like you to guide them in a way. That I think that's what you mean about like if it's good, then how do you manage this with children? I think it's good that you teach them rituals. I just feel like I said, my mom is Catholic, my father not. And then they always manage that well. They are still married. So I guess you can meet in the middle, you can teach your rituals without forcing your children to follow that, like my father always said, if you should go to church if you want to. If you don't feel like going, you just don't have to. Like just because your mother goes, your grandma goes, everyone goes, you don't have to go. If you don't believe, you don't have to believe. Like maybe teaching them that it exists and you can choose to do that or not. Give them options and teach them how to question things.
And when did you start thinking about that, or when did you come with this critical thinking, particularly about that? Maybe even the age.
When I was a teenager, teenagers are kind of rebel, it's when you start, it's when you're trying to figure out why you exist, why you're here, what are you doing, what's all of this. At least me, because I was not, I don't know if in more strict cultures they do that, but me, for like, because I have this father that like allowed me to have a critical thinking, he was stimulating me. So when I was like, I would say 15 years old, I started questioning everything. And I feel like you should stimulate children to do that in a respectful way. I would not say, for example, I think part of ritual, especially related to religion, is a lot about belonging. Like at the end of the day, you just want to be part of something.
Sense of home.
Yeah, that's my point. I was going to that point, feeling at home. I came to China. Before coming to China, I was not going to church. It had been a long time in Brazil. I came to China and I started feeling, I was surrounded by people, but I started feeling lonely. I don't know. I guess homesickness. I don't know. Like there's no Brazilians in my university. I like speak English all day, every day, and Chinese everywhere. And like, I started like, I don't know, feeling, it's lonely. And then I found that going to church, even though I'm not even sure nowadays if I believe that or not, finding a Catholic church in Nanjing actually made me feel like home. I even cried the first time I went there, because I felt like, well, I belong here, like I grew up in a church. And even though I don't know if I believe that or not, it's familiar. Even though they're speaking English, but we are still doing rituals. I know when they have to stand up, to sit down, to go on their knee, to say this, say that. Like we still do the same thing. The prayers are the same, it's just different language. So I was not there because I believe or not. It was really like I was looking for somewhere I belong. Because I was with a Muslim girl, I was with the French girl that has no religion. That I felt like,
Okay. I mean, for me, it's different. For me, I can be like a tree and without looking for anything familiar like that, which I don't believe in. So, yeah, following this same question, when kids starting to, be critical, for example, are all humans meant to be critical one day, or a specific humans in specific cultures?
All right. I think like just bring it back to the ritual thing is like one of the significant part of the ritual is performance. And the performance is used to tell a story to inspire the tribe in some certain way, right? And ego death. Would you think ego death is one important thing in that part of ceremony? do you think everybody will experience ego death just naturally, or do you think this is something to be taught? Because ritual and a lot of psychedelic and also like the symbology, for example, someone will say that a shaman would say, I literally experienced this in front of you. My bones are broken into pieces, but in this trance, I put them together and coming back as a new, fresh human being. So that's just a symbolization of how a human is constructing new identity and also new understanding based on probably it's an age thing or something, but it is recorded. I mean, I read this from my research and I was like, yeah. So this biggest question is like, it's not even just critical thinking. It's like critical thinking requires a lot of things. We were talking about vulnerability, right? Just realize your ego is so limited. And if you think you're the most critical one by questioning everything, then that doesn't mean you are critical. It is, it has a lot of requirements, more than knowledge probably. Right. But back then we have this thing. You got to be humble. You are a strong man, but you shouldn't rape. You shouldn't beat other people. I'm the shaman that hold you down. Look, I'm a new again. Do you want to be like me and be a new person, or do you want to be the criminal or be a violence being who doesn't know what peace is? That's not even critical thinking. That's like pretty fundamental for every human beings to experience. And my question is, do you think everybody will experience this ego death just biologically, naturally by themselves, or there has to be a few shaman-like figures to inspire that? And this is a mysterious thing.
The mediation.
Yeah. Do you need a mediation?
If you have a leader, how do you experience ego death? Because if you have a tribe or a religion or something like that, how do you teach people to kill ego if they are authority? Like, how come you're better than me to tell me what to do and what's right, what's not?
Well, because I think the whole point is shaman is not when they are chanting, right? They're not themselves. The entire narrative is that they are not themselves. If you believe them. I mean, the problem is there isn't a self anyway. Right? It's your brain making stories about it. So when it comes to the end of the day, it's like you gotta question whether this leader is a leader, because then if you're following him, do you have yourself? But is there a self at the first place? And what I'm saying is that back then in the shaman practice, that one of the biggest rule for them is to inspire. Yeah, I think one of their rule is to inspire, because they're going away. They're making with spirit shamanism.
I am coming from a Catholic perspective.
Yeah. See,
we have the Pope. There is no ego death in a guy that lives surrounded by gold.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that, obviously.
Yeah, I cannot. That's what I'm talking about. You're saying you think everyone can experience ego death alone or stuff like that. I'm like, no.
All right, that's your answer. No.
My answer is no. And actually, if you have someone guiding you, there is ego. Because that guy feels like he's an authority, and he is. But society is telling everyone that they are leaders. So he has an ego. Have you seen Catholic churches? There's gold everywhere. They rule everything. They came to Brazil, for example. They colonized Brazil. There were indigenous people there with their own beliefs, rituals, and then they came and said, well, we're bringing Catholic Church, and now you need to learn Portuguese and how to pray. Yeah. How are you killing ego if a guy's telling you what to do?
I think I'm completely against that thing, because I would call that a replacement of the sense of home. Back then you have a completely different sense of home, and now you have this. You got to go to church. Not the land, not your normal ritual.
Land, we
Yeah,
had
you had everything.
we had the language, we had
Yeah, but it's forced.
everything.
Yeah, so that's you see in the medieval time, when the church is in power, right, they would destroy witch, right? Do you think why is the European ritual has few drums? Like North Americans and Mongols, and they always use drums. Because if you play drums in medieval, you probably get killed. You're a witch. You're a shaman. You are someone who is telling the church that you actually connect with the spirit, which is completely against. And they're like, I am not me. I'm not me. I'm connecting with this greater power. And they're like, no, the greater power created you. We are sinful. So it's like a word view clash with each other, and then they are associated with the kingship, with the power, the matriarchy, and everything, right? And then where the tribe is like, I'm putting like a stake through my body to show you what pain is. And that's part of the performance.
Yeah, and just after, and if you go and live on your own and not use electricity, not use gas, not use anything, you want to create sustainable life just from nature for yourself. How do you think the state will behave for you? Actually, if you say, I don't need you all to interfere with my life. I have an idea, I have a plan, I have a strategy, I have the tools to create my own way of life without consuming, without being a consumer, without being a citizen. Are they going to agree? No. So it's still the same concept.
The land is not yours.
All right. Yeah. So here in China, it's not yours, but Algeria it can be yours. No, in Algeria it's mine.
What are you talking
No. In Algeria, land is ours.
happened there and
No.
they find you.
In Algeria, it's ours. In Algeria, it's ours. It's not for the state. So yeah, Paul wants to add something.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say all the talk about like religion and shamanism and things like that. It just made me think about like the configuration of ritual, like how in Catholic everything is very directed towards lifting one person up who's leading everybody, whereas I feel like in a lot of like tribal ritual, it's always like circular. Everyone's kind of like interact with each other, and I think this is something that is like very different from Western influence from indigenous, and I find that fascinating. That's all I want to say.
Talking about the shamanism and religion, I'm thinking about that. I'm looking at it from perspective of, okay, let me look at all the different types of religions that do exist, because the shaman, he is like the mediator between a greater ideal and the people that are around. So now we have two types. We have the one that is being put on people, and then there is also the one that your being looks at, or your being has defined it to be. Like, for example, if you are a student, for example, of 22 years old or 23 years old, I think one of the biggest problems of our society now is the lack of fatherly figures that we have, especially for men, good fathers. Because those good fathers do act as mediators between who you are and this greater ideal that you are supposed to be, kind of. And you will see that a young man, for example, when he is 22 years old, 23 years old, because he has this deep instinct within him that seeks for a father or a mediator that will show him how, this is the better way. This is the way that you can follow to become the ideal you. Now you will find on the internet all kinds of fatherly figures. You have the good, you have the bad. It's true that the bad, you have more bad than good. But the fact is, I believe that when it comes to the shaman or the person that is supposed to play a role as a mediator, you have two types. And now I believe that it is supposed to be the person's responsibility to choose the shaman that he believes for his life. And it's not everybody that will choose, for example, the Pope. It's not everybody that will choose Jesus Christ. It's not everybody that will choose Muhammad. It's not everybody that will choose Buddha. Because all of them, in a certain sense, I don't want to put the Pope there. In a certain sense, they are like mediators between this greater ideal that you want to become.
Most shaman are women. Most shaman in history, they were women.
I'm not very accustomed to that. What I know is like prophets, What I know is like, those men that I was just citing, like Jesus Christ, Buddha, but I don't really know. Putting a woman into a place of shamanism,
Shaman is normally women.
I think it's much more male.
Really?
I think.
No.
Or maybe if I look at it from a cross religious standpoint, because I'm not really accustomed to the shamanism entirely, but I can say that I can see the idea of the shaman being replicated into the other religions as well, and that's the one.
Very, very specific religion that you're the mediator between. Here you have the earth and you have the heaven and you're the one in between.
But I will not really go.
Type of spirit.
I won't really go with a woman for that. I won't really go, and I think it will be wrong even to do that. I really believe.
Really?
I think it to have a woman shaman.
But that's what happened.
I have my reasons. I mean,
Which are?
the first one that I will try to bring now when it comes to shamanism, I will look at it. I will look at the shamanism from the idea that is the same concept that is being replicated into other religions, like for example, Muslim religion or Christian religion, where you have the imams, where you have the pastors, where you have the people that, let's say, were able to get closer to that particular ideal that they were seeking. So this is from the idea that I stand. And I think that I don't know which religion type does shamanism belong to, but I think that in all the different religions, because it's something that is very recurrent and because you see it over time, it has been there for years, that men were the ones that were playing the mediator role between God and the people. When you see that in all the different religions, I believe that it's something that is true, and I will give my reasons for that. When we look, for example, Carl Jung was talking about the collective unconscious of humankind. Like you see different people that are coming from different backgrounds, explaining the same thing, or let's say narrating the same story, but in a different way. Like you see the Egyptians, they will be talking about Horus and Osiris. It's the same story that goes on with the Hebrews and even Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, he is like the figure of Horus, for example. You take that one, you go to Greece, you also have this pantheon of Greek people that are still there. And it's like the same story that is being put on every single time.
You're gonna make an exception here.
I don't know how you'll be making that one, but I think even the same idea, Muhammad, he is the mediator between God and man,
Right.
and it's not changeable. It's like the same thing that you see in other cultures that's being repeated many times. Now, am I saying that?
Doesn't believe in one.
But I think whether it's one God or a plurality of God, I believe that all of them do come from one. Like for example, when you look at the Greek, you'll have Zeus, right? When you look at the Egyptians one, you will have the God Son. When you look at the Hebrews, you will have one. I think all of them, even if there is a plurality, you'll still have one. It still comes to one. And so now talking about if a shaman can be a woman, I think it's possible, but I don't think it's the right order of things. So for example, I will come up from my background, my own background. My background is a Christian background. And in the stories that you see in the Bible, it's not that you don't have a woman that is being like the mediator between God and men. You see a woman that I remember I read it. The name of the woman was Deborah. And she was like the judge between God. She was judging the people of Israel. And she was under the authority of God. It doesn't mean that at that time there were no men, but the woman, she was there at the top. I'm not saying that it's no, but what you see across time, and when you see the story that is being laid out, is like you see mostly men, and I don't think that it will be. I think
it is men who are writing it.
But I don't think that it will be something. I don't think it will be the same if it was women that were taking the majority of it, because you were saying that shamanism is mostly women.
For family and tribe.
But I think that one is much.
Is the man.
I think that one is much more related to a particular religion. But I don't know the religion that you are talking about.
Shamanism.
But if shamanism, I don't now. I would like to say if the idea that we have, because the idea that I have is like shamanism is this particular concept of a mediator between God and man.
Not a god.
It's not a god. It's like a mediator. Oh, shamanism is a creator.
No. I
There's
just
no
wanted
God.
to
There's
replace the word
no-
with creator.
There's no creator for at least everything is alive. Everything is spiritual. That's what animism is. It's like this is has a spirit.
Oh, like everything.
This everything.
everything can-
No, not everything. Only it's the shaman. Shaman is the one that figured out something and displayed it through.
But he's like
and-
a mediator between God and man.
When shaman is the mediator, that's no longer a human being. Sex, gender doesn't really matter in that trancing environment. It's literally like you have electricity, but it's not the wires that's sending you those information and energy. But you can't do it without a wire, right? So shaman is the wire. But then what you're saying electricity, creator is the generator who generate electricity, right?
State who is organized.
Yeah, the sound is the generator. But then you need this wire to conduct
So he's like he has the two natures,
from
godly nature and manly nature. So that
and the non-manly and the non-human nature, right?
you think much more non-human.
At that stage, in the trance stage.
I would say maybe it's both. I think it's both because
Well,
he
then,
has to be a mediator and he has to talk to men. He has to become a man to be talking to men.
yeah, but in the trance stage, you sort of you ignore that because you lose your conscious. You become completely unconscious driven.
Mhm.
They take a lot of medicines and herbs and just to get into that trance state. And you need to do drums, and they do drums and dancing and with the percussions just to be in that trance. That's why it's called trance.
I see, but after that they are in trance, they have to come back.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is in that stage they are more like less human. But when they come back, yes, they are human. But then if you can't get to that stage, you're not a shaman. That's why you're not, because shamans are the people who are paranoid. They're almost like they have mental disease. They're just different people. And then the older shaman saw that, oh, could be a good shaman. I mean, that's how it goes.
Makes them different.
What is the one thing that makes them different? I think they're just weird. Most of the time, they're not having offsprings.
Don't you think it's like
From
the
history,
result of a process that they had to follow through to become like that?
no. So, for example, if you're depressed right now, shaman is the one that come out without any help, just come depressed, almost.
I wonder how do you believe it's possible to have an ego death when someone is entitled to be the one?
It's not the shaman wants to be the shaman. That's just not the tradition. I mean, if you're interested, you can look into shamanology and do a research about it. But what I'm saying is, we're talking something like this. I think it's like Europeans. They had their flying boat. They call it flying boat, the zipline, the whatever, that balloon stuff, right? Now here's a Chinese in this country. They've heard about that thing, and now they want to illustrate this thing to the people, to the other Chinese people, and say, "Hey, this is what the European did." What they did is not illustration of the real thing; it's their imagination. They put a wing onto a Chinese boat, and they say, "This is what the European did." And what I'm saying is, because you guys have this Christianity background and very few shaman animism background, then you are imagining that with this vision, the Chinese boat with a wing inside of a cloud, which is completely not what the European did. It's a balloon. But Chinese don't know there's a balloon. They just don't know. For example, the French people, they have this elevator or something is on the floor, and it's automation. People can stand there and they move for 100 meters without walking. And now the Chinese people they've heard of it, and they'll be like, okay, I want to draw it so I can put it on newspaper so people can know what it is. So they draw from their imagination, which is not reality.
From a Catholic thought, I come from a psychoanalytical perspective.
But that's very Immanuel Kant-ish, because psychoanalytic is definitely from the Immanuel post Immanuel Kant. That's absolutely like Western thought, completely not. Yeah.
So speaking of mediation, not even ego, just the mediation. If I will tell you more about, because now you talked about a lot of spiritual traditions who are all calling for mediation. Like Muhammad is a mediation between humanity and God, Jesus, whatever. But if I would talk to you about the Berbers, for example, even the Berbers, this name it's a Roman calling. So for all people who don't understand Latin language, they're called Berbers at that time. So it's not like that's our real name. Our real name is Amazigh. So Amazigh, which means a free man. And these guys don't, or we don't believe in any structure. We don't believe in anyone who is coming here to interfere with us and God or with us and life beyond nature. So for us, we've been believing, or the belief called animism. So animism is seeing nature as a living thing. Or for us, for example, when you die, we think that you're going to become a guardian. You will watch. So if someone dies or you lost anyone, if you think that he's watching, he's out there watching. So he's taking care of you, out there. But we don't really have someone to hold this narrative or to own this narrative. I am the maker of this narrative, so we need to worship me or stuff. It's made free man. So anyone, and we are an egalitarian society in Morocco, wherever you go. All the Berbers, all over North Africa, from the western part of Egypt into the Canary, as you call them, islands. So we don't have this sense of mediation. It's just everyone can make contact with God. So anyone can, just have this vision of nature as a living thing. You need to respect nature. This is why we use olive oil for a lot of healing purposes. You cook with it. We use it in our daily life. So we have this vision of nature as a healing, and we see it as a living thing. So but we have no mediations. We have because we have oral tradition. We sustained our identity through.
Who is keeping those oral?
Just people are transmitting. They're just calling from ear to ear. That's it, from mouth to ear.
Do you have ritual?
Yeah, we do. The ritual is leading by some, let's say, wise man. Something like that.
Shaman.
He's not a shaman, but
That's the issue. You're talking.
but they have no power like that. It's like
perspective you're coming from a shamanism.
I mean, animism, shamanism is another way to say shamanism is another way to say animism, right?
Yeah.
In the border.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if he's the wise guy, why is he the? You said there's no leader, but then stories are passing down. Somebody has to keep the knowledge of.
Right.
Everybody's smart enough to remember everything.
Right.
So. That's the leader.
You still have some people who are keeping this tradition.
That's the mediator.
Right. He's not really the mediator. How do you call it? No, just for that event. Actually, now it's more. I mean, nobody believes that he is the supreme mediator or something. He's just shaman. He likes to do that work, but these guys are farmers as well. It's like they're just normal people. They don't have a status for that.
Don't eat this. You're gonna be dead if you eat it. Imagine if this is something exactly what it is.
Right.
That's power. Knowledge is because you will live.
I'm talking more about social power. social structure power.
That's what power is. Are you gonna eat it if your order tells you that don't eat it?
Yeah, but these things are quite. But these things are quite fluid in spiritual world or in social practices.
So
in social practices, there is pattern. There is specific patterns into.
If that's not leadership, then what is?
Yeah, there is a form of leadership. Yeah, there is.
That is leadership. Then
but this leadership is locally it's locally situated.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is no central.
I would just define it as understanding.
Or you can say understanding as well. So, but there is everything is fluid. Why you still have
older people passing down knowledge, and that's all.
Right. I'm gonna give you another evidence.
They're not imposing anything. They're just saying like we used to do that.
Like come walk down this path.
I'm gonna give you because this is not a simple thing. We've been passing this knowledge, but we fight for this knowledge actually.
Yeah.
When the Roman came, we collaborated with them. We've learned a lot of things with them. We had great scholars from them. But at the end of the day, we fought against them. Because we didn't accept the power. We didn't accept them to rule over us.
Fight.
Of course, you have some leaders. You have
the leader, and why is that leader
But those leaders, they don't have a narrative. They don't push this narrative. I'm sent by God to protect you or something. Just we need to kick them out of this land, and that's what we keep doing for thousands of.
You're protecting your sense of identity. It's like
Right, right, and our sense of identity is embedded in land and our way of life. Because I'm gonna fight you because you're coming here to take away my land, to take away my food. This is why I'm fighting you. I'm not fighting you.
Community are not gonna
Right, right. That's it. So we fought the Romans. We fought a lot of colonizations since
But what would you call
Ottomans.
leader?
You know. Okay. Okay. See you then. Okay. So thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a form of leadership. Yeah.
I think
There is a form of
is like
and it's multicultural.
thing.
It's not it's not cultural specific because those leaders have been actually studying with the Romans.
Yeah.
Those who have been studying with the Arabs, they have been studying with Ottomans, and they go after them.
They're forced to become a leader in that situation.
It's hard to verify.
Because they have the experience and they have the knowledge.
Right, you have the knowledge.
Right, and the other people.
maybe
want to
just
fight.
because you're trying to define something and maybe the word leader.
Right, how we define it, the etymology. Yeah, yeah. The chef, we call it the chef in our.
Also, let's remember
Hmm.
English is not our first language for most of us, at least for you.
Right.
Or
It's hard to define concepts. Yeah.
I speak Portuguese, you speak Chinese.
In English.
Yeah.
I mean, English is not your first language, right?
Well, yeah.
You were born in China, you're raised by Chinese parents.
I'm actually in Mongolia.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have different
So
backgrounds.
English was not your first. So maybe like this debate.
but
about
it's not a debate. I think it's coming from your question is that you think shaman
No,
is a paradox that leading.
Is he a leader? Is he a leader?
Yeah, because he said it's
form of leadership.
yeah, because
Like, is he a leader?
I think
maybe it is, maybe it's not.
so. How come somebody leads? I mean, but then is there an objectiveness in somebody saying that if you go fight this way, then we're gonna have 10 men die. If we do this way, we're probably gonna have 1 to 2 men die.
Oh my God.
And well, I'm not saying this is your question. I'm just giving you an example to say how I see this.
There's a gap.
It's if we don't have this agreement, this conversation cannot go because if someone say, okay, if we go this way, half of us gonna die. If we go this way, most of us are gonna survive. If you don't listen to that, that's the leader.
Yeah,
That's what the difference.
In his context, I believe that the word leader makes it heavy just because maybe it's a.
No.
Is it like
But even the practice of leadership is different. So how we practice, some people claim leadership from a divinity perspective, you know, but we don't have that. We don't claim leadership because of some divine power. We claim leadership because of simple terms, practical terms. You take my land away, you take my food, I'm gonna fight you. That's it.
And shamans don't claim leadership from shamans don't claim leadership at all. There's no lead. Just that moment. It's like that moment. We go this way. You eat this plant, it can heal you because you're gonna die. You wouldn't it?
But okay,
Like so this leadership is like our brain is wired in a way where we have this contemporary way of seeing leadership as CEOs, as like presidents. Yeah, this is exactly not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this is.
That's why I say that sometimes maybe the word can be heavy because. That's why I say the word leader can be heavy because we come from a system where we have these politicians, and for us, like being a leader is sometimes bad.
But then you need this guy.
Like because I know it's. I'm not saying it's bad, you know. Yeah, of course. Like imagine if we didn't have control, it would be wild. I'm just saying that maybe the word carries a heavy connotation that maybe it's not. Yeah. Maybe it's not as heavy. I don't have a definition. I'm just saying that maybe it can sound, in some perspective, it can sound heavy, but it's not, and it just depends on what you're talking about. You know, like I don't have a definition. Like
I think I can try.
Okay, I don't have one because I think it's
For a leader, because I base myself on the fact that not every human is not like all the humans are the same. We have different talents. We have different abilities. There are some people that have better abilities than others. And the ones that do have better abilities than others, most of the time, you will see that the people that are around them will have this sense of instinct of looking at that person, because as if I say medium now, we will be going to shamanism. It's not like medium. It's not really like medium.
Is shamanism.
Not really a medium, but it's like a reference point to help you to move, or a reference point to show you where you're supposed to go, for example. And because we have this structure of abilities that is pretty different, as I was saying, not everybody is the same. For example, if I'm playing basketball, right, I will be looking at people like LeBron James or maybe Michael Jordan. Why? Because those people, they play really well and their abilities are pretty good. They are talented. And in the game, we can consider them as the people that were leading in that sense. So I will say is like this person that other people will consider as a reference point. I'm not really talking a leader from the sense of the person looking at himself being a leader. I think it's much more a leader is being defined by the people. It's not really like a person who is defining himself. Well, if the people do define the person as a leader, and then the person sees that objectively he is a leader, then he can take the responsibility.
Okay.
And that's when they go for elections, right? So that's the way I see leaders, is like in every domain, whether it's in school even,
Society, I guess, in every aspect of even academic environment.
Yeah, academics,
Studying to be a
sports,
professor,
everywhere.
I have a guide and I'm gonna be the guide of another group, and then we are going to pass down the
Yeah,
stick
it's like a reference point for me.
to guide.
Maybe there's AI now. Yeah, maybe now, maybe no the knowledge will be more available for.
But still, you have the hierarchy. Even though everyone's gonna be using AI, you still have the institutions that are gonna like. It's gonna be just a symbol, like.
Yeah, it's good to think about
Gonna be
institutions.
there, but you just use.
The questions I wanted to ask is, what makes the nature of leadership in general? Is it the information, distribution of information? Is it the distribution of resources? And how actually a leader can hold all this together, can hold the information, can hold the resources, and, provide a platform for others to follow. Now, we've talked a lot about leadership, but what about followership? Who are you following? Why are you following? Are you supposed to follow someone? So what about this mentality of followership?
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Like if you're starving and somebody hunt an elephant and put it right in front of you, the whole tribe is full.
Yeah.
That's like if you hunt, you follow that man because he bought like an elephant, and then I think that's what following means, is you're not gonna die from that. But if you're feeling that guy's bullying me, that CEO is trying to use me and abuse me, right? Which is happening now. But do you think you have to clarify the term of leadership and leader for your own good? It's like, rather than have this confusion, saying that, oh, what if this leadership means that? But that's not leadership because you're not even following that guy. Leadership is whoever, you're following something, whether it's a concept, whether it's a book, whether it's, a painting or an art, a piece of art, film, whatsoever. You feel that you resonant with this whole symbolic expression, or this is someone who helped you a lot, who contributed a lot. For example, your dad obviously leaded you, like, right? That's leadership, and you agree with that leadership, then he's a leader. And that's period. Like if a guy who came here, I'm the CEO, I'm the boss, blah, 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 therefore you have to, like, I wouldn't even think him, like, I wouldn't even associate this term.
No context into it.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's more, it's like, it's artificial.
Yeah, there are different types of leadership, I guess. Like there is the imposed leadership. Yeah, like you cannot question, like, and you're talking about following, and there are like the stuff we can choose. Like for example, I'm doing academic research. If I publish something and I'm saying, so I think this and I tested and statistically it means that, to my point of view, and you read my paper and you say, I agree. You're following my idea and you're gonna make your paper based on mine, and then. So I guess it depends on what type of leadership you're talking about. But yeah, definitely the way we are organized in society, everything goes on leadership. I was just saying that maybe the word leadership can be heavy because we have this example of CEO, president, the Pope, which I'm not a fan, and like violence, like imposing and not questioning because the leader says so, and also like some gods, like some religions, they are a bit heavy, and depending on how you interpret the religion, some can be a bit oppressive, So I think that depends on your perspective of leadership. And
You go. Yeah, you go. I mean, just maybe a last thing about leadership. I think leadership is the ability to clearly articulate any vision so that anyone around you can understand it and bringing that into practical context. So by practice, by long term, your leadership ability, or you're gonna create a sort of culture. And it depends on which kind of culture you're going to create, because it depends on how you're articulating your visions. It depends on your qualities of rhetoric as well, how you transmit knowledge, how you transmit information into all the parts of any kind of organization, and how a leader actually makes decisions as well. So, what is his criteria for making decisions, or is he making decisions based on his entire how to move his entire organization, or is he making decisions just to for the sake of performance? For example, he doesn't really care about the organization, but he's interested into making a performant organization. It depends. It depends on every leader has different focus. Someone he might, sacrifice his own employees to just make profits. Somebody else he wants to share those profits to develop high quality employees and high, let's say, a good culture for the company so that it can be sustainable, and he can compare himself with a lot of cultures, with a lot of competing organizations, so that he can see where he's living in. So this is my definition of leadership in the modern world, if you want, is the ability to articulate any vision and sustain it for a long period of time.
There's something that I'm thinking about, and that I would say I've been thinking for maybe, let's say, maybe 1 week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And I really think is like the basis or the foundation of reality, because now we are talking about leadership. And talking about leadership, people will say, okay, what do you define also as a good leader? And the fact that you have good that is being placed before leadership, it means that good has the foundational base. Now, I was thinking about those weeks, I was thinking about good and evil. What do we define as good and evil? And I think it's a very deep question. It's a really deep question. I was thinking about that for like days and night. Even in my dreams, I was even thinking about that. I'm telling you the truth. It was.
Since you were born, right?
Huh?
Since you were born, right?
No. I will say this because I always had this problem where, for example, you are doing something, and because you have the tendency of seeing it as maybe bad, it will push you. Like, I would say the thing that triggered all of that, it was when I was playing basketball. I was playing basketball with one of the guys, and then there came a moment where the ball went out. I thought the ball was supposed to be mine or my team's ball. And it was supposed to be his team's ball. But as we were playing, and then he took the ball and he says, like, this is my ball. Like, he was imposing himself. He says, like, this is my ball. And then at that point, I wanted to push. I wanted to push and say, no, this is not my ball. And then one of the guy came and he said, okay, let's do like, this thing that I don't know how they rock paper scissors to determine who is the person who gets the ball, right? The guy said no. We don't do that. I'm taking the ball. I was looking at that.
Extreme dictatorship.
At that moment.
It's about leadership. You can be imposed or not.
At that moment, I wanted to push, but something was retaining me. It's like, what you are doing, is it good or bad? Because I will have gone to a certain extreme.
You know what?
Because
I'm an adult. Like,
I will have gone to a certain extreme, but I was looking at that. I was thinking, what I'm doing, is it good or bad? And I took a step backwards, but I think that the solution for that it was to do the raw paper scissors, because I believe that the ball was supposed to be mine,
it's fair.
and he believed that the ball was supposed to be his. So at that point is the thing that I would say that triggered everything, and I was thinking about it almost for a long and
Guilty?
not guilty.
Because you
Not
thought about
no.
cheating?
Wait a little bit. I would say I was feeling guilt. I would have felt a sense of guilt if I was doing something that I wasn't really agreeing that was good or bad.
Because the thought of wanting to push him.
I would say I would have felt, yeah, I would have felt that I was being a bad person because the guy, he was a bit older than I think. Huh? No, he didn't suck. He didn't suck. I think he was a good player. He was a good player. But you know, basketball, like all the games, is like like you have to impose also yourself to a certain degree. So it was something, it was there in my mind. As I was saying, 1 week and a half or 2 weeks, I was thinking about that every single time, even in class. Like I couldn't even follow the class. So what I did, it was trying to define, okay, that thing that I was supposed to do, was it supposed to be good or bad? And then I started reading Friedrich Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. I went to, there is one chapter that he talks about nobility and how he defines good and evil, because I think it's a very complicated, but I would say I've been able to, let's say, have like it's like some kind of definition of what it is, and I will say I feel now much more better. So looking back at the situation that I think I have to see. Do you guys want to hear what I read about the good and evil thing?
Yeah, so what's the definition?
So, Friedrich Nietzsche, he was talking about two types of moralities in the 9th chapter. He said that you have the master morality and you have the slave morality. And he was saying that the slave morality, mostly it comes from two things. The first thing is when people are coming from a family where they are super well nourished, they tend to develop that master morality. Or when people have faced unfavorable conditions many times to the point that they became hard and they became much more stronger. So that's it gives them that master morality. But now I was there. How will I define morality? And I thought that the best way to define morality is these other values that people do have within themselves. That's what I will define as morality. Like, what is the highest, what is at the pinnacle of that set of values and ideas that you have within yourself? I think the one that is supposed to be at the top, it is for the betterment of being. And the betterment of being is what I will define as good. Now, in a society, they have a tendency of defining what is good or bad in a very different way. They will say, for example, that you don't have to lie, that you have to be nice, you always have to be smiley with people. Because I think one of the things that stops people from moving forward is because most of the time they don't really want to be what their inner being is actually. Is like they are living in a lie. For example, you see, and it's very subtle. When in the Bible they say, for example, that you shall not lie. The you shall not lie, I started understanding it, and it's something that really, it makes me be afraid of even lying. Because when you lie, you will see, if you are very attentive, you will see that your being is like, it's like you're being decomposed. It's like you become much more feeble. It's like weak. Like as you're even speaking, your ideas is like, it's very subtle. It's like when you're even talking with people, there are some moments you're smiling when you are not supposed to be smiling. Or for example, you are saying something that
you're not even thinking about, or maybe something that you heard on the radio and then it was turning on your head. It's like you're just saying that thing, and it's like those things that are making you weak. It's like not lying is a very, very not difficult, very interesting, curious thing.
What is lie? What about you?
I think lie is like trying to twist reality. And when I'm talking about reality, is like your reality and the reality about that is around you. That's what I think about. That's what I think. So I hope I'm not lost about my thing. I was saying that he was talking about the master morality. Now the slave morality that he was talking about is the view that people that are at the bottom, arrange their sets of values in relationship with the people that are at the top. So, for example, he was giving an example and he was saying that the people that are at the bottom, they will say that, okay, in relationship with those people that are dominating over us, we have to be humble. We have to form a certain level of kindness. Or we have, for example, those things that the Christianity does preach. And I think this is one part where he was talking about Christianity as being slave morality, but I don't think it's Christianity being slave morality, because Dostoevsky, in his work to the Brothers Karamazov, he showed that it wasn't actually Christianity, it was the institutionalization of those Christian systems that was actually the problem. It wasn't Christianity itself.
Almost look like emperor.
Yeah.
In
Hierarchy, you have hierarchy.
Yeah.
You have a system which is achieving a certain goal, so he needs a clear structure.
Yeah.
Stability and structure, and how to do that. You need people. So you need people to accept to be less paid, for example, to do all the harsh work, and you need to pay people more who will be coordinating all the operations. So this is the nature of systems, actually, like social systems or
and metaphors, like where they put the thing, the chair. Okay, shall we end from here?
Oh yeah, let's end just here. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.